Welcome, my name is Ms Umraw. I'm going to be coordinating this event tonight. I'm not going to be doing too much talking because we've got a very short lineup and there are far better people to take the podium than me. So I'm not going to take up too much of time. Tonight, we're gathering here not just to honor a champion of justice, but to understand the plight of an urgent cause. So growing up personally, I had a relatively normal childhood. I got to grow up amongst other boys and girls and saw the women in my lives as equals and warriors for the daily trials they had to face, which I had no ability to fathom at the time, and enduring myself. And being able to have the childhood I did was a privilege, as many children haven't been as lucky as I have, to have received the same level of protection and love that I did growing up. My understanding and admiration of women is in large part due to the amazing woman I have the privilege of calling my mother. And, she has a number of titles: a philanthropist, an innovator, a go-getter, a wife, a sister, and a mum, just to name a few. Now, before the pandemic brought life to a standstill, she took off a gargantuan of a task of prepping and then summiting the highest peak in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro. The months of training and preparation were all in the name of gender-based violence, as was the Sari that we're going to see a bit later on. And that was the cloak of her courage that she kept on when she summited. I would say that more people like my mom are needed in this world, people who are fearless in their fight for justice, and to ensure that those who have no voice themselves feel heard, and those in need of comfort know they're not alone. Gender-based violence in South Africa is the highest it's ever been, as at least 1 in 5 women have experienced physical violence by a partner, and between 25 to 40% of women in South Africa have been victims of violence or sexual abuse. Those are crazy numbers, and these are just some of the disturbing realities faced by the women population in South Africa, and it continues to worsen as more faces are seen in the news and more stories of horror emerge. And this is where people like Judy Umraw are needed, as they're willing to face this head on and put the urgency of this cause before above all else, including themselves. Tonight, we pay homage to her incredible efforts and achievements around the upliftment of others. And we have a number of people who are excited to share their experiences with the lady in pink. First, we have Sari Mohabir, a close friend of my mom, to open the night with prayer.
Good evening. Can I ask you all to please rise and bow your heads in prayer? Swaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yonah Prachodayat. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Sachidananda. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptations and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, greed, anger, and hatred. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glories. Let Thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. You may take your seats. Our guest of honor, Mrs. Judy Umraw, the Umraw family, respected elders, dear friends. Tonight we're all gathered here to honor a woman that has really made us all proud. And in particular, we are also placing emphasis on this garment that we all take such pride in. It is actually a very big deal that Judy has actually summited Mount Kilimanjaro, and that too in a sari. Why does it invoke so much of pride in us? The sari is 9 yards of wonder, a garment that champions inclusivity, cultural representation, and expansion of self. It's no wonder that the sari is growing in popularity as everyday wear. The sari is arguably the oldest form of attire known to humankind. Dates back to more than 5,000 years, with the references dating back to the Vedas. The sari holds a place as a symbol of tradition and culture. It can turn any woman into the epitome of grace. Simple, versatile, this garment tells stories of women who wear them. Worn by rich and poor alike, there is a sari for every occasion. The length of the sari, being 9 yards, is very symbolic. In Hinduism, we say that the highest honor that can be given to any woman is to be a Hindu wife, because on the day of her marriage, she is no less than the goddess Lakshmi herself. And in every home where the woman is elevated to the status of the goddess, that home thrives. Of course, that puts immense pressure on the husband as well, for he's got to step up and also be the epitome of Lord Vishnu himself, but that's a different story for another day, and we'll have that conversation at another time. Every sari has a story about the society and the people around it. It is a history book that tells you about the region, the community, the craftsmen, and the geography. And on the 27th of September 2019, Mount Kilimanjaro was draped in grace and elegance. It is no wonder, but a fact that evokes immense pride and joy and honor that this incredible woman chose to mark her incredible achievement in this incredible garment that is the epitome of grace, elegance, and exquisity. Thank you for taking with you your heritage to the very top of Mount Kilimanjaro. You have taken a piece of each one of us with you. In the sari, when we drape ourselves in our saris, we wrap ourselves in the grace of the goddess herself. We say there are 9 forms of the Divine Mother, and there are 9 yards in the sari, 1 for each incarnation of the mother. So when a woman drapes herself in her sari, she's taking with her all the grace of the goddess herself. And Judy has taken that with her for all of us, and I think Mount Kilimanjaro would never be the same again. Thank you for leaving a piece of your heritage there. Thank you for taking with you and invoking in all of us the sense of pride. And thank you for the champion that you are, for all the causes that you fight for, and for being an inspiration to every woman. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to hand you back to Emil.
Thank you so much, Sherry. I think we've all, it's cool. I'm going to leave the stage in like a second anyway. I think we've all learned so much more about the significance of Sari and what it means to so many people around the world, and the significant event of having summited an entire mountain region with such an idyllic item. So to take us into the official welcome for the function, I'd like to call on Verona Frank, who is the PR and Marketing Officer for the museum.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to the museum here tonight. I'm sure if I did a quick survey around the room and asked how many of you have been to the museum recently, there would be very few hands that would go up. So it's such a pleasure to be associated with this display with Judy. For this very reason, it's brought all of you here to the museum. And it's in doing events like this and partners with people like Judy that we get to make the museum relevant to our very audience. And it is such a joy for me to welcome each and every one of you to the museum. And I do hope that it won't be the last time that you would come and visit the museum. There's always something new to see in our museum. A colleague of mine at an event earlier this morning in this very hall made a comment that if you haven't been to the museum in a year, if you came in a year ago, there's guaranteed to be something new to see. If you came 6 months ago, guaranteed you'd see something new. If you came a month ago, you'd definitely see something new at the museum. And that's what we strive to work to do at the museum, and to live by that motto of there's always something new to see. We have a wonderful team at the museum, a huge team actually, some of whom are here, that work very hard to keep the museum relevant and fresh and exciting, and to provide good content like we have with this display here tonight for people to enjoy and to be able to relate to as well. So welcome. I hope this is not your last visit. Like I said, I hope to see all of you again in the museum sometime really soon. I have to just make a note that we are closed for the next 10 days with that said, to renovate and refresh and make the museum even better than it has been. We open again on the 23rd of November, and I hope that after that, all of you will go back, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your visiting relatives and friends when they come to the city, and show off our wonderful museum. It's such a pity that the museum isn't actually open for you to see it tonight. It would have been awesome if it was, but due to the renovation work that's scheduled to begin tomorrow, everything is kind of in disarray. But I'm quite sure that we will see you again all soon, and consider yourself very welcome on behalf of our management of the museum, and I hope you do enjoy your evening. Thank you.
That's cool. All right. Thank you so much, Verona. I think, I have such great memories of this museum as a child, and it has really been a long time since I've been back. And I think that's the case for a lot of us, as Verona said. And, it's such an iconic monument in the city, and we really should take the time to come visit it more often. Talking about the iconic displays in the museum, here to tell us a little bit more about the display, Lady in the Pink Sari, is Wesley Flanagan, the Assistant Director for Exhibitions.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Verona, for your welcoming earlier on. Good evening to all our guests. Thank you for making it tonight. As Verona said earlier, we have gone almost 3 years without an exhibition and display opening, and this is our second one today. Wonderful signs of positive change for us lie ahead. This particular project began when Judy Umraw participated in our annual Wellness Day event at the museum this year. Her story of summiting Mount Kilimanjaro in her Sari is one of adversity, adventure, whilst highlighting the cause of gender-based violence. Her pink sari has become a symbol of determination, faith, pride, and remembrance. It is no mean feat summiting Kilimanjaro. While designing and putting together this display, I felt like we were taken along with this journey, along with Judy. There are a number of obstacles along Judy's journey, and it's a real heroine's tale, because she conquers these obstacles. I don't want to give too much away. I will let you discover the material in the display for yourself. But there were many times when Judy felt discouraged, but the pride and all the intentions embellished on her sari kept her going. Gender-based violence is a festering wound in our society, and the term femicide is becoming ever more used. Women are the backbone of our society. Daughters, mothers, and grandmothers are the peoples keeping our families cared for, sheltered, and fed, which is becoming ever more difficult, and many of these heroines must still face the heinous scourge of violence. These acts of violence come with so many consequences. Stigma is still one of the worst. Displays like these are important. They celebrate women, survivors, conquerors, and heroines. There is no stigma in surviving. The stigma is on the perpetrator, and we as a society must enforce this. In South Africa and across all our cultures, there's always been a toxic level of masculinity. I don't know if this goes back to the years of conscription and military life, but we as a society need to change this. Mothers, grandmothers, and even daughters, raise your children and your brothers where kindness and gentleness is not seen as a weakness, but a great strength. The culture of boys will be boys must end. Mothers and grandmothers, raise your daughters as heroines, and with the belief that they can climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or Everest, or fly to the moon, or attain anything that they set their minds to. As a society, we need to highlight all these remarkable achievements made by women that often go unnoticed. This display has been positioned in our busiest thoroughfare, and I hope it serves as a reminder for all those who pass it. That women are heroes, and women at any stage of life can do anything that they set their minds to. And Judy, you're a perfect example of this. And also to acknowledge that women have been doing this for years. So thank you for your support tonight, and thank you, Judy, for this opportunity, because you highlight a really important topic that we need to face. So thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, Wesley. Those were really powerful, uplifting, and certainly wise words. And I think we've all learned quite a lot from that and drawn some sort of inspiration from it as well. Talking about inspiration, we've heard about sort of the impact and the reason why we're here, but I think we'd like to hear a bit more about what it's like to climb that mountain from someone else who's done it and accomplished that feat. I'd like to call up Bianca Smith, one of the fellow climbers who summited with my mum.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. My name is Bianca, and I climbed Kilimanjaro with Judy, and what a wonderful journey that we had. Lots of laughter, lots of tears, but I've only got 5 minutes to speak, and it's not a lot of time with all the stories. So this evening, I'm just going to focus on the story about the lady in the pink sari. Taking you back to our summit night, we left camp at about 11:30 that night and climbed all through the night, and I summited at about 9:30 that morning. And I got to the top with our guide, George, and George said to me, "Bianca, we've got to go and get Judy. Judy has got to make this summit. It's very, very important." Because Judy was a bit behind at that stage because one of someone had fallen ill in our team. Anyway, to cut a long story short, George walked me back to Stella Point, and then he said to me, from this point on, I'm going to let you go down the mountain by yourself. You can just follow all the other climbers, and you see down there's a camp with all those yellow tents. Please go and meet us there. I'm going to go back and fetch Judy. We won't be long. Anyway, it took me about an hour and a half to get down that mountain, following everybody. And like 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, I'm not seeing Judy, and I'm starting to panic because my snacks are running out, my water's running out, I don't really know anybody. So I decided to go back to the base of the mountain where I knew they would be coming down. And I sat there, and I'm waiting. And everybody that came down the mountain, I said, have you seen the lady in the pink sari? Have you seen the lady in the pink sari? And nobody knows what I'm talking about. They're looking at me as if I'm crazy. I'm like, surely you've seen this lady in the pink sari. So anyway, eventually I decided, no, it's starting to get dark and cold and what. Let me go to the next camp, because I've been talking to other people. They said, no, the rangers are just further down. There's a ranger's office. Go and chat to them. So I get myself there and I say to the ranger, I've lost my group on the mountain and I can't find them, but it won't be too difficult because the lady's in a pink sari. Anyway, he also just looked at me like I'm crazy. And then there was another group from Denmark and their guide, and they obviously heard what was going on. And then he said to me, no, he'll take me down to the camp where we will be spending the night. So they got me there, and now I'm waiting for Judy. And there she came. I was so happy to see her. She just came walking down with this big smile on her face. And that evening, the two of us, we sat in our tent together, we looked at each other, and we just burst into tears because we'd both been through so much on that day. It was a very personal journey. We had both been doing it for different goals, for different organizations, etc. And we actually just sat and looked at each other and we said, wow, we've actually did it. We've overcome so much physically, mentally, spiritually, and we did it. And you are an absolute inspiration to us, and for you to actually have done it in a sari, it's another level. We're very proud of you.
Thank you, Bianca. That was really a fascinating retelling. I think she deserves another round of applause for summiting as well. I don't think words really tell the story of what that experience must have been like in that biting cold and that pitch darkness, traversing that crazy landscape. But sure, it must have been really something crazy. The next person I'd like to call up has been a dear personal friend of Judy for a very long time, Mala Naidu.
A beautiful woman that epitomizes high thinking and simple living. Yes, Judy Umraw is no ordinary woman. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, good evening and namaste. On Friday, the 27th of September, 2019, at exactly 1:03, while most of us were going about our mundane daily routine, something extraordinary happened on our continent. Through extreme fatigue and exhaustion, with every breath, the lack of oxygen felt like knives were piercing her insides. Wrapped in her pink sari of resilience, she summited the highest mountain in Africa, one small step at a time. It was one small step for Judy Umraw, but a gigantic leap for women around the world, all while bringing awareness to gender-based violence and the challenges of multiple sclerosis. For the entire duration of her training, as well as the final climb, Judy encountered many people who believed that she was attempting the impossible. So what exactly is Judy Umraw made of that makes her so driven to achieve what no woman has done before? Judy arrived on planet Earth as a Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of love, light, and prosperity, being the first granddaughter of the Singh family. There was a lot of controversy and indecision about naming her. Her paternal grandfather finally, without anyone's knowledge, registered her as Judy Singh. According to him, he liked it because he had a friend by that name, and it was short and sweet. Well, I Googled the meaning of Judy and nearly fell off my chair. Judy means, wait for it, she will be praised. Growing up in a family of male dominance, Judy embraced her warrior spirit, naughty nature, effervescent vigor, and hence was fondly nicknamed Tufan, which means fierce storm in English, by her Nana, her maternal grandfather. Her first debut in a sari was at the tender age of 7, when she danced and won a competition. Thereafter, many other events in a sari followed. Due to her family traditions, women were not allowed to study, and soon after matric, a suitor would be arranged and she would be married off. Judy, however, fought against these rules and studied food and clothing technology, consumer sciences, and marketing. She's the eldest of 4 sisters and a brother. She felt that her stand for empowerment would pave the way for her siblings too. Following her studies, she entered the corporate world where she met and married her knight in shining armor, Ms Umraw, and the couple was blessed with 3 beautiful children. That final night before the summit, Judy says, the tension was thick with the extreme danger that lay ahead. Hence, Judy found herself consumed with the loss she had experienced in her life. Vivid memories of her father's sudden death when she was only 18 years old. She was devastated then, and she had to fulfill the role of the eldest and assist her young widowed mother. In 1997, the tragic demise of losing her only brother and her infant daughter, only 3 months apart, encouraged her to form a support group called the Circle of Love for grieving mothers and family members. As soon as she got her strength back, the fierce storm her grandfather saw in her allowed her to create a unique meditation in motion concept called soul fusion dance. She didn't stop there. Judy went on to create an empowerment group called Wings on Women to encourage and inspire women to uplift themselves in body, mind, and spirit. In 2001, Judy invited me to speak at one of these events, and we became friends ever since. Judy and I can chat for hours about the wonder of life. Judy loves to party. However, there is one party she will never attend, and that's a pity party. Judy hunts the good stuff in life and never sees obstacles, only opportunities. Judy began presenting the benefits of movement and meditation in the form of dance at international conferences, including the Leisure and Recreation Association of South Africa at the ICC in Durban, and was featured in the Sunday Tribune newspaper and Midlands Life magazine for her contribution. Her talent was showcased alongside superstars, including Bollywood international artist Alka Yagnik, Shan Mukherjee, and Javed Ali. In 2014, she assisted in the production of Miss India Mauritius Worldwide and became an ambassador for the Cancer Association of Mauritius. In 2016, the Judy Umraw Dance Academy performed at the ETV Morning Sunrise, and Judy was interviewed on her journey on women empowerment through dance and movements. She has a heart of gold and is ever ready to help. To honor her tireless work in the upliftment of the community, especially women and youth, she was awarded the prestigious Women of Wonder Awards in 3 countries: namely South Africa, Mauritius, and Dubai. Judy shares a very close bond with her son Emil, who you've already met, and he's a prominent journalist in our country. And she also shares a very close bond with her daughter Tiona, who is currently pursuing her studies in New York. Judy draws much strength from her husband Alan, who supports her and gives her the space and encouragement to thrive. Judy takes her nourishment from within. When she was on the mountain, she would miss breakfast so that she could get some solitude in the tent to do her meditation. Judy's main support comes from within her. Simply put, she is a high-value woman who understands her worth and displays an energy that goes far beyond the physical. That energy attracts other people like moths to a flame. But she is careful about who she allows into her space. Throughout her life, this inner strength shone, and she also received the I Am Woman Award, and she was a finalist for the Woman of Stature Awards. She was featured in the top 50 Inspiring Women magazine in South Africa. She served as a facilitator for SWIFT, Sisters Working in Film and Television, a team player and mentor in a community initiative by the KZN Midlands Meander Broadcasting, and is currently one of the directors of Infinity Media Company. Judy is also currently one of the top 8 finalists for the Royal International Pageant as an activist against gender-based violence. Her life-changing journey is definitely the climb and summit of Uhuru Peak, Mount Kilimanjaro, wearing a sari, with pledges against gender-based violence and well wishes of making the impossible possible. She started this purposeful journey to inspire and encourage others to embrace their fears, make a difference, support charities, and bring awareness to incurable diseases, as well as gender-based violence and its struggles. She witnessed firsthand the struggles and pain that I experienced with 4 incurable diseases, and I was left riddled with symptoms and confined to a wheelchair. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I must add that Judy's character and kind words of wisdom contributed significantly to my transition from the wheelchair to the dance floor. I recall my friend encouraging me to have a one-pointed focus on my strength, my tenacity, resilience, as I overcame my challenges to heal my body. I documented my healing journey in the self-help book, A Flaming Challenge. Now, the day before I launched the book, I visited my neurologist with it, and he gasped, took a step back, and said, "Marla, do you realize that your diagnosis is insurmountable?" When I shared this with Judy, she felt inspired to take this self-help book to Uhuru Peak as a symbol of my victory and to inspire other patients that it always seems impossible until it is done. And she wanted to do this dangerous climb in a sari. And she did it, making me a part of this historic, world-breaking climb. You can tell that Judy and I realize that it is way more about our mindset than our physical strength. Hence, insurmountable is not a word in our vocabulary. You see, we have become besties because we resonate with the fact that it's not about the altitude, it's about the attitude. Please allow me to indulge you with my early education on the value of a sari. As a young, newlywed woman, fresh out of university, I was appalled at the thought that I had to wear a sari whenever I was at an event where my in-laws were present. I felt this was unfair and so old-fashioned. There were many other Indian outfits to choose from. I will never forget that day where I left my in-laws' home complaining that I felt uncomfortable walking in a sari and needed to get home as fast as possible to remove it. I have to in some way modernize my father-in-law, so I thought. The next day, I received an unexpected visit from him. I was alone at home. This is my chance, I thought. He's on my turf. I made him a cup of tea and sat across the table from him while loading the ammunition in my head. He spoke first, and what he said shook me to the core. He said, "Thank you for wearing a sari to our prayer yesterday. I know I put pressure on you to wear a sari, Mala. Let me tell you why. You are my eldest daughter-in-law, and I love you, and I'm so proud of you. The sari is so much more than just a piece of material. The sari is a symbol of respect in our culture. When you adorn a sari, you bring so much joy to the elderly people around you. The youngsters of today are forgetting their roots and have become so ungrounded. I want you to know that you don't have to wear a sari if you don't want to. But if you do decide to wear it, then wear the sari with pride, Mala, for how far Indians have come in this country. Wear it for all the women who have fought bravely so you can be who you are today. Women look so beautiful and elegant in a sari. Ladies and gentlemen, the ammunition in my head disintegrated faster than a dustbin in water. Never in my life did I feel so uneducated and foolish. From that moment on, I wear my sari with pride, and I have the utmost respect and love for my father-in-law. Oh, how I wish he was alive today, so I can see the joy in his eyes for what Judy has accomplished in her sari. While most of us find it difficult to walk in a sari, she climbed Africa's highest mountain in it. Judy Umraw encapsulates the essence of being human, a woman, and Indian. Beneath the pink sari is a woman who is wrapped with qualities of compassion, perseverance, courage, fearlessness, and mindfulness. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the ever-powerful, the world's first woman to summit Mount Kilimanjaro in a sari, our very own Lady in Pink, Judy Umraw.
All my heart is yearning, like a candle burning in the night. Seasons keep on turning, sometimes hard to keep up the fight. I will climb the ancient mountain, I will find the last flicker of the light. I'm sitting on the top of Kilimanjaro. Oh yeah, I can see a new tomorrow.
You will only achieve the impossible when you connect with yourself and realize that your purpose is far more greater than yourself. This is what I've learned when I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Please excuse me if I get a bit emotional. This journey of introspection has made me realize that there are things out there that we are taking for granted, and climbing Mount Kilimanjaro was an absolutely humbling experience for me. People normally say, you climb a mountain to conquer that mountain. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, friends and family, this moment today feels so real. Good evening, namaste. And as they would say it in Swahili, on the mountain, jambo. I feel immensely humbled and honored to be blessed with these moments that I can share with all the people that are really special to me. I would like to extend and say thank you for every one of you that have made that time to come and share this experience with me tonight. Thank you, Mala Naidu. Thank you for that beautiful introduction and sentiments. I was just trying to digest all those lovely compliments while I was sitting there. And I was thinking, oh my God, is that really me that she's talking about? You know, sometimes you overlook the things that you've done because you're so busy in your everyday life. I'm grateful for special people in my life that encourage and inspire me to strive and become the best version of myself. Thank you, Mala, and for that introduction, I really appreciate you. Sure. Bianca, thank you for reviving those unforgettable memories. I felt the goosebumps all over again. And as those memories flowed back whilst I was sitting there, I felt like my heart was pounding out of my chest. We have experienced so many beautiful moments together, a journey of a lifetime. Unfortunately, Rose Chite couldn't make it today due to work commitments, and she's out of town. But I appreciated that two other strangers that I've met for the first time in my life shared that sacred space with me. And believe me or not, I mean, we were three of us in that confined tent. We had to make do with the space, with each other, and we were blessed for that confined space because we were there to encourage and comfort and love one another. With much deliberation, you know, that 8 days on that mountain was a journey that I would never, ever forget in my life. So, but this evening, I would just like to ponder on the highlights of that journey. Honestly, if I have to stand here and talk about the whole 8 days, it would take a 4 to 5 day conference to actually explain what happened in those 8 days. And prior to that, the 9 months of training and to the climb was also very grueling. Now, everybody asks me this one question, and I think this is what tonight is all about. It's about why. Why did I choose to do this journey or to take this treacherous journey wearing a sari? Like the other speakers mentioned, and thank you, Sherry Mahabir, for the enlightenment of the significance of the sari. And I think that gave us a broad view of how the sari is special for us in our culture, tradition, and a pride for a woman to wear. So I won't dwell on that because I think we already have the knowledge. So I would go across to talk about the struggles that I had on the mountain whilst I wore the sari. Now, when I actually decided to wear the sari, it just didn't happen overnight. It happened a year prior to my decision to wear the sari on the mountain. As we know, on a religious calendar, we Hindus celebrate a celebration of the 9 goddesses called Navaratri. A year prior to, in 2018, I had my husband's aunt that lived with us while she was ill. She was 86 years old. whilst we were doing the Navaratri prayer, I would adorn myself for 9 days in a sari. The one day she said to me, she said she couldn't really pronounce my name. She would call me Julie because she couldn't say the D. And she said, Julie, you look so beautiful in the sari. Pink really suits you. And then she said that evening, I was getting ready to do my training. And she asked me, you are fasting saltless for 9 days. Why do you have to train? And then I sat down and explained to her that we were doing this expedition and why I was doing this expedition and why I had to train. And then she said to me, well, when you're doing this expedition, you're doing it for women. She understood that aspect, that I was doing it for women and gender-based violence. And she said to me, well, I think quite jokingly, she said, I think that would look very nice whilst you wore a sari. I think she didn't grasp the concept of climbing the mountain. She thought it was like, when you watch the Bollywood movies, where the woman's wearing the sari and dancing around trees and nature. I think that's what she pictured. And she brought it, and she said, why don't you do that? It will really look very nice. And that actually planted the seed. And I said, well, I cannot carry big posters. I cannot carry big placards for gender-based violence because of the weight that we had a certain weight that we had to carry on the mountain. And why don't I, she's planted the seed, she's given me that idea, why don't I do the pledges on the sari and wear those pledges? I mean, how much more potent that was to send out a message like that. Because I'm passionate of what I was doing. I really wanted to send out that message out there. So this was a very good way to attract the attention of everybody, because everybody would want to ask, why a sari? When I phoned the agent, and I said to the agent, I would like to adorn a sari while I climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And the agent laughed at me. She said, why a sari? Are you crazy? Do you know how treacherous and how it's not conducive for the terrain of the mountain? Are you crazy? Why are you deciding to do something that's already so dangerous and you're adding danger to it? So she says, we will ask you to sign off a special indemnity if you want to do it, and so that we are safeguarded, because we can tell you now that wearing a sari in that type of terrain is not conducive for that type of climbing. So I love challenges. That is why I've always been called the wild child in my family, and I think my mom would bear testament to that. And thank you, Mum, while I'm at it, for introducing me and teaching me how to wear sari, and I think that actually stems from why I also did it, because it epitomizes all the women in our family as well. So for me, the choice to wear and climb that mountain in a sari was now fast, and I said, this is it, I'm doing it, and nobody is going to change my mind. My husband, he said to me, I think you are going crazy. It's all the training that you've been doing. When you're in the high altitude, you're not thinking straight, brain fog. So I think you're not thinking straight. Think about it nicely before you go out there and tell everybody that you're doing this in a sari. So after a couple months, I decided, yes, we will do a sari swag for our fundraising project for Kilimanjaro, because we were climbing for 2 other charities and we had to raise money. So I took the sari with me and to the meeting, and I said to the ladies, listen, we're going to do a sari swag. And they said to me, what's a sari swag? I said, I'm going to encourage all the women to come to this event and wear a sari. Now, how many of you here haven't worn a sari? Just a raise of hands. Please, I can see some beautiful saris here today, but I just want to know who hasn't worn a sari in their lives? Okay. Sorry, Bianca, I was supposed to dress you up in a sari today, so we'll do it again. And so we had the event. We brought saris. The women that came in without saris, we draped saris for them. We made them model in saris. And then we announced that this is what we're going to do for gender-based violence, and we're going to take it to the mountain. And everybody was very supportive, and I'm glad for that, because if you go out there on the exhibition, you will see how many pledges and how many well wishes we have written on that sari. And from that, I gained so much of confidence when I looked at those pledges, and I said, yes, I am definitely going to climb this mountain in the sari. So I thank all those ladies that attended that function and supported me to make that decision. Because if it wasn't for your support, I would not be standing here today. We, as especially Indian women, I feel, for me, the sari invokes the goddess in me. And that connection with my roots gives me a sense of pride and grace. When I started, on the first day when I started to climb the mountain, I draped the sari and I actually cried. At the Landrosi gate, where we had to sign in our register, I remember Rose saying to me quietly, "Are you sure? You don't have to do it in a sari. Are you sure you want to do it? Nobody's going to say anything, because this is, you actually putting yourself in danger." She says, "Before you sign that register, think about it." And I said, "No, Rose, I'm focused. I'm going to do it." So I signed the register and I went to the Landrosi gate and I draped my sari, and believe me, when I stood at that poster to take my first photo, I had all eyes on me. Everybody wanted to know, what is this crazy woman doing, all draped up in this long cloth? And the tension was there, and people, the fellow climbers that were with me, they asked me, "What is that?" Those that didn't know the sari, "What is that you're draping over you?" And I said, "Look at this. It has this, what I am draping over me is a length of love and protection." I said, "You see, every signature on the sari, every well-wish on the sari is the power that's going to help me to the top." So immediately I was filled with so much of confidence. And I will just skip a few days, because as I said, if I go through each day, we're going to be here for the whole night. So I'm just going to skip a few days and I'm going to go on to the highlights. On day 3, it started to rain. And we were walking in the cold, in the rain, and I was wearing my sari. It was getting wet. And by the way, I had it draped over my thermal wear, so it kept me quite warm. Because lots of people think I just drape my sari like this and walk the mountain. Excuse me, I am not Superwoman. So, on that day, it was a very challenging because the terrain was very slippery, and you know, if you've worn a sari, that you've got to take graceful steps, you know. You can't lift your leg high or you can't step wide. So for me, it was a real challenge. And then I remember George, the guide, saying to me, you don't have to really wear it. You can remove it, put it in your bag, and you can, wear it when it dries up again, when it stops raining. And I said, no, George, I made a promise to everybody in South Africa, for all the victims out there, for all my family, for all my friends, for all my supporters, that I will wear the sari for 8 days. And sometimes while I was walking and I'm thinking, gosh, I am crazy. I'm really crazy. The pain, with the physical pain, and trying to maneuver the sari, and then when it's windy, the sari blows up into this balloon. And then if you see some of the pictures out there, there's so many ways to wear sari. Apparently there's 50 different ways to wear sari. So I would now, be conducive to the weather, and I would now start tucking the sari all over, and sometimes it would look like a pair of shorts with the drape over. But because we had to climb through like rough edges and maybe boulders, I had to pull it up and try to make it as conducive to the terrain as possible. I must admit, before, I'm just going to go back a bit, before I went on that expedition, I used to feel a bit uneasy, and every time I felt uneasy, I would Google. Do you guys do that? Google the place that you're going to visit, see what it is all about, and I would do that quite often. And when you Google and you're looking at your phone, and you would see that the picture of the mountain, it looked like, for me, it's quite doable. It looks so small, but when I got there, whoa, it was me that was the speck, and there this majestic mountain stood in front of me. And I remember thinking, hey, I'm going to take out some wonderful pictures in the sari on that mountain, because if I know my friends and family that are here know me, I love pictures, I love videos, and I thought I'm going to take some lovely photo shoots on this mountain. But believe me, this mountain had some other plans for me. So going back to the rainy day, we got to our tents, and it was freezing, it was cold, it was wet, everything was waterlogged. And by the way, did everybody have some popcorn? If you didn't, please go and grab yourself, because Bianca, you would know why we like popcorn so much. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, was the only reward we got after a long day of walking. So we would go into the camp, and they would give us a nice bowl of hot popcorn, and believe me, that was so welcomed. So that is why I decided to share some popcorn with you tonight. So my sari that day was quite wet. I removed my sari, and then if you look at the display later on, you will find that there are some smudges, because all the petitions that were signed, because it got wet, it has some smudges. And I removed my sari and I used to hang it up on the tent. We had very confined spaces, so we didn't have places to hang up stuff or no wardrobes or cupboards or anything. We had to put everything on the floor, but then there was a little string and I would hang up my sari. And you know, at night when you're missing home, missing your family, and I would look at that sari and I would say, that's where my family is. That's where my friends are. They're with me. They're here with me. And that would give me so much of comfort for the next day. In the mornings when I got up, and I know Aiden, one of the helpers there, he was such a jolly porter cum guide. He would come to me and say, "Ma'am, can I help you tie up your sari?" And he says, "But you do it so quickly." And he would like hold it at one end for me. And that was so, you know, for me, that was another type of connection, a bond that I had with him, because he was always there to assist me with the sari. And then I must also admit, in the day of our journey and expedition on the terrains, the ablution etiquette was something else. That was so challenging for me in the sari, and it humbled me so much because, you know, when you have to go, you'll have to go. And removing the sari and then doing my business and then coming back and draping it again and carrying on the expedition was no child's play. But I managed to do it. So the pledges on the sari was the highlight, because every passerby that passed me, or every fellow mountaineer that looked at me would ask questions about the sari and also ask me, what is written all over there? Why is that a certain type of graffiti or artwork? And then I would explain about gender-based violence and how it's affecting us in our country and how the victims are being affected, women are being victimized, abused, and this is the cause I'm doing it for. So on that mountain, I was able to bring about awareness with international climbers, with the porters, with the local porters, and the guides, and I felt that I was doing a good deed. I felt like I was sending out a message there. I felt that this journey had substance. So the sari had brought, as I said, brought about attention with the media as well during that time. And lots of people have asked that the sari be displayed at the one display at the park, but for the arts in the park. But during COVID, there was a lockdown, so nothing much happened. So I'd like to extend my gratitude to KwaZulu-Natal Museum and Wesley Flanagan and his team, Verana Frank, for affording me this opportunity to carry on to send out this message of gender-based violence. And I'm just trying to get my notes here. Okay. It was when I adorned that sari that I found that it encapsulates exactly what my mission on this earth is. And that is that although the mountain had a struggle that was increasingly unexplainable it was incomprehensible at some times, but the sari had given me so much of confidence, so much of pride to carry on. Bianca did mention that she had summited the last night. The day before the summit was very emotional for me. Rose Cheetah felt, thank you. Rose Cheetah, we were in the tent that night, and she felt ill. We had to make a decision, and she had to go down. Now, with all the emotions that were there, Bianca and I had to do it because we had made promises. We had already made our minds up for what causes we were going to do it for. Bianca with her causes, and me with my causes. And I remember that morning when the guide came in and I was packing my bag to summit, and I quietly slipped in the book, A Flaming Challenge. And he said to me, "Excuse me, you are not going on holiday. You are not going you're not on the mountain to sit at leisure and read. Why are you packing that book?" And I didn't have time to explain, because with all the emotional chaos that was going on with Rose and, trying to get ourselves ready to summit that night. So I just said to him, "No, I'm doing it for a friend. I'm doing it for Mala Naidu, who's gone through challenges, and I'm doing it for all the people that have autoimmune diseases, so I have to take this with me to the top." And he said to me, "No, let me carry your bag, let me see the weight." And he carried my bag, and he says, "No, you're going to have to leave it." And then I pulled out a packet of chocolates. Bianca, did you remember that? I had packed 4 kgs of chocolate for that mountain. I remember I had to leave the chocolates behind, and instead I said, I will take the book because it's much more significant than taking chocolates. So the book came with me to Summit, and I think it linked quite nicely because, gender-based violence is something that we all know that it's the number one demise in our country at the moment, so we need to do something about that. And autoimmune diseases, well, I know out of every 4 people, at least 1 person has autoimmune disease. So coming back to the last night of our summit, I adorned myself in the sari at 11 o'clock that night, and we started to walk, and that is when Bianca and George decided to leave me because I couldn't walk fast in that sari. That sari inhibited my movement. So Bianca and George decided, no, Judy, you can prance around and model in your sari, we going. So they carried on, and as we got to a point, almost to Stella Point, my guide felt ill. And he was vomiting. And he was weak, and he had vomited on me as well. And to tell you the fact, I wasn't very impressed, but I was very worried as well, because if he had summited that mountain 4 to 5 times and he was so sick, what is going to happen to me? And I didn't know what to do. We couldn't stand, we couldn't sit, we had to keep moving, because when you stop moving, you're going to be cold, you're going to freeze to death. So you have to start or think and just move, whether you like it or not. So I held him and we walked. And then he said to me, "Ma'am, why don't you remove that sari, because it's a bit messy, for one. Two, we can't walk very fast in that." So I still said no. I will not remove the sari. It's going to go with me to the top. I am going to keep it on till the top. So Adrian was sick. I thought I was going to die because, as Marla mentioned, and sometimes when I talk about it, I get very emotional. 2 weeks before I actually did the expedition, I was diagnosed with bronchial pneumonia. And my specialist said to me, "There's no way you're going to do that climb because your health doesn't permit it." So I know I'm stubborn. I know I had that sari with all the pledges, all the support. How can I now go back to all those people and say, "Hey, I'm sick now and I can't do it"? And then I remember my husband saying to me, "You are going to do this, you are stubborn, you're adamant, you are going to die on that mountain, and I promise you, I will leave you on that mountain. No one's coming to fetch you." And believe me, at that time, I cried, but I knew where he was coming from. It was out of love and concern that he didn't want me to do this. But the stubborn nature that I am, I was packed and ready, and I said to him, "No, I'm going to do it, whether I'm sick or not." And I was coughing. Bianca, you remember, I coughed the whole journey. I coughed, and it was like a real bad cough, like a COVID cough. By the way, I didn't have COVID, hey? It was just like that, though. And when I got to the mountain, I remember George saying to me, "That cough doesn't look very promising." And I said, no, it's just that, I get choked sometimes and I cough. So I had to make an excuse. Yeah, so when the summit day, when Adrian fell sick, that's my guide, when he fell sick and I was still coughing, and I said to myself, if Adrian can't make it, I'm definitely not going to make it. And as I got higher, the altitude got more thinner, and my chest was like, it felt like I was breathing in blades, and my chest was being stabbed. That's how immense the pain was. But I just carried on, and every time I shifted my sari, I would see a name. And I don't know whether it was, when you're in high altitude, you start hallucinating. But I remember seeing a few names and what that pledge said. And that gave me the strength. And somehow, looking at those pledges got me to Stella Point. And I really didn't realize that I got to the point while I was just reading those pledges. And Bianca, you would bear testament to what I'm saying. You spend a lot of alone time on that mountain. So you introspect. So sometimes when you're walking, you don't know what you're thinking, what you're doing. So you're introspecting as well. But whenever I looked at the sari, I thought of that person. Like when I would see a person's name, I thought about that person. I focused. And then another thing about focus is, with us, I do a lot of meditation. And when in meditation, they teach you that when you focus on something, it makes life a little easier. It makes your struggle a little easier because your focus is on something. And I think that sari was my focus while I was walking, so I didn't even feel the struggle and the pain at that time. So I focused my pain into that sari. And as Sherry so nicely explained, that sari has power, and I totally believe that a sari has power. When I got to Stella Point, I was asked to carry on alone to the summit because my guide was now sick and I didn't have a guide to move through. And then you know what? People on the mountain would look at me and say, "Excuse me, where are you going dressed like that?" Because I didn't have a guide with me. And I looked like a nomad, and just walking aimlessly on that mountain. And I would just ignore them at times, or I would say, "Hey, not dressed like that. This is called a sari." And I would laugh it off. I had to bring in humor because that was the only thing that was taking me forward as well. So as I was walking to Gilman's Point, I heard a voice behind me, and this big voice said, "Hey, the lady in the pink sari, where are you going?" And when I turned back, I see this guide from another group, and he says, "You are not allowed to walk alone." And I said, "Hey, this lady in the pink sari is going right there," and I'm pointing at the summit. And he just smiles at me and he says, "George is coming back, please wait." And George, that angel, he was our superhero on that expedition because he summited Bianca and he came right back to summit me. And as we were walking, George and I, he said to me, you're at the point of Gilman's Point. It's your last few steps to summit. And can you imagine the joy I felt? It was so real, I couldn't really comprehend my emotions, because it was joy from within, and it was hard physical pain. I had a terrible headache. I felt like my head was blowing up into a balloon. I felt knives being pierced to my body. The cold was gnawing my bones. I thought I was just going to fall off and roll down that mountain. And then I stopped. I paused. I refocused. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is what that mountain taught me, is that every time we are faced with a struggle, we need to stop. We need to pause. We need to refocus. And that is what I did. And the last few meters to the top I floated. I literally floated to the top. And why? Because I never felt my body. I could not feel my feet. I was totally numb. All I knew is George said to me, "Congratulations, you have submitted." And all I said was, "Thank God I made it." Ladies and gentlemen, I know lots of people have submitted Mount Kilimanjaro. And Bianca, congratulations once again. You did it in super fine time as well. And at that time, when I stood at the top, the only thing I could think of was all those people that supported me, all those people that gave me the love, the remembrance of them on my sari was there. I looked at it and I cried and I said, thank you to all these people, because without that support, without that love, without that encouragement, I would have not made it to the top. Seeing that I was coughing, I was ill, I was in total pain, I felt paralyzed, I would definitely not have made it to the top if I didn't wear that sari. I also pulled out Marla's book, and I said, this is for all the patients with autoimmune diseases. And I felt that I didn't conquer that mountain. No, I didn't. That mountain conquered me. And with having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to end by saying you will only achieve the impossible when you connect yourself and realize that your purpose is far bigger than yourself. I'd like to also thank everybody here today for your presence and your support, and my family, friends, the KwaZulu-Natal Museum. I would like for everybody to extend their wishes to Verana and Wesley Flanagan for giving this opportunity to us to also promote our Indian culture, which is the sari, and bring awareness to gender-based violence. The launch is ready. I think the exhibition is ready and it will be unveiled. Thank you, Wesley, for all your hard work and your efforts. And I'm sure everybody is going to enjoy watching that unveiling. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Strange, strange freedom. Only free to choose my chains. So hard not to weaken. Just give up and walk away. I will climb the ancient mountain. I will find the last flicker of the light. I'm sitting on the top of Kilimanjaro. Oh yeah. I can see a new tomorrow.